Hello, everyone, and welcome to Belize Tourism Futures. Today, I'm joined by Joe Awe, a cultural anthropologist, tourism lecturer, and founder of Nine Belize Eco-cultural Tours. Joe is widely known as one of Belize's most passionate and engaging guides. We first met when he taught me adventure and ecotourism at Sacred Heart Junior College, and then we worked together at the Lodge at Chaw Creek before he moved on to start his own company. Welcome, Joe.
Thank you very much for having me, Lou.
Today, we're talking about what sets a great tour guide apart. Joe, can you start by telling me a bit about yourself and why this topic means so much to you?
My name is Joe Awe. I have been in tourism for, at least 26 years. I've been a guide for that long. After studying business administration, I was interested to learn more about myself. And how do you do that? Well, by anthropology, the study of man, right? So here I am, falling in love with culture. And initially, I decided that I wanted to be an archaeologist. And as Belizeans know, and maybe the world knows, there's one famous Awe archaeologist already. And so that took me right out of the game, right? Jaime Awe, a professor of mine. So he really it pushed me towards cultural anthropology. I found out later that I fell in love with social anthropology. So I wanted to know about humanity right now, but also be able to go into the past and see what causes certain things to happen culturally, right? And that was my training. I was invited to teach a class, a tour guiding class at Sacred Heart Junior College in 2005. I think the original professor could not do it. So they called me up and asked me if I would be able to do that class. And lo and behold, I think some students liked me and they recommended that I would probably teach that class or some other class at Sacred Heart. Slowly, Sacred Heart realized that I love history. I've read every book almost. And Sacred Heart decided that maybe you should teach urban history class. And eventually, after 12 years at working at the Lodge at Chapri as a culture guide, Sacred Heart found a way to pull me away. But I never let go Chapri because of teaching. I started a small business that I have kept small intentionally. A lot of people realize that what I learned from tourism, I think you should know this, Mr. Lorenzo, is that there is one thing about promoting a business that you own, and there's another thing when people like you more or beyond the business that it's you they want. So you find out that if it was Joe Awa they were looking for, there was only one of me, and my business would never go. So I decided that slowly I will win my way away. And then now we have a couple of guys that do work for us. So that's me. I teach right now at Yale University too. I teach a class called Belizean History and Culture, which I love. And then I also teach a class called Belize Constitutional Reform. So I am a very busy human being. Exactly how I like it, like we just spoke about that. When it's over here for me, I would have left everything about me here.
In your view, what makes someone a great tour guide?
That is a huge question. Let me answer it like this. I think not everybody can become a tour guide. People who are not in a growth mindset will struggle as tour guides. I have noticed throughout the last 10 years, excluding the COVID years, a lot of people join tour guiding for a job, and that's a problem. It's a problem if they cannot adjust, because if they cannot adjust, they'll be chasing the money and stop growing. The best tour guides, and I know a lot of them in Belize, are those who prepare themselves, have the growth mindset, put in the effort to learn, also to develop their own personalities, which is absolutely the key. And basically, what they did then was let the money follow them. Those are some of the greatest guides you can find anywhere in the world. And I've traveled, so I know it. You can just feel it. There is a total difference of a guide that owns it rather than works for it.
Why is personality so important in guiding?
With me, it's like this. If you're a manager of a small business, that business does not behave itself the way it behaves. That business takes after the person who created it. If you're sloppy, that business will be sloppy. It's the same thing with personality. So if you're sloppy, that doesn't mean that you cannot grow out of that. Sometimes there are habits that are holding us down. In fact, I believe that the most damaging problem for tour guides in Belize, and I don't want to stretch it to the rest of the world, but I've been to Guatemala a lot to know that we share the same thing. So maybe we can stretch it. Habits are the problem. Like in any other space, I believe. If you have terrible habits, it will hurt your personality. Because there's nothing worse than a tour guide that get upset with guests. Because you don't understand that we all come with some traumas, for example. We come with traumas, even relationship wise. You wonder why some people behave that way, and then if you explore that's your trauma showing. You have to learn. So that open mindedness that you need to come to every specialized area of work, of the workspace, it has to come with an open mindedness that directly relates to your own personal development and your personality. Personality obviously is where you come from, what you're becoming, what you share, how you share it, what your likes are, what your dislikes are. Knowing that you don't like certain things, but know that it's professionalism and you need to work on it, right? I'm not smarter than people, I just learn a lot more. And I share, and people like that. And I share, I read different genres of specializations. And so, if you're a doctor, a medical doctor, I can turn a tour at, say, a Maya site into medicine, which will trigger you like, whoa, like, all right, that's cool. And then if you're a surgeon, I can actually share some surgery ideas that Maya really did, for example, right? But so if you're an artist, we could do that too. But the only way you know how to express yourself in your personality is that tour has to become you. Right? There's every part of that tour is going to be you. So personality is too important to not allow into the space. Right? I am not a very strict guy. I don't want to demand. I want to negotiate with you. I don't want to. Don't climb there. You can't do that. Stop doing it. I will tell you the story. The guy climbed there. He fell and he can't walk anymore. Wow! I will get off of that immediately, right? So my personality is not one with a. I don't have a whip with me or a stick, and I don't even have a carrot. I just have you and me, and let tell me about you. And that's why I adjust my personality to you. But you can't hide it, right? Personality is something you will never hide. I can hide my bald spot on my head, but I cannot hide who I am. People notice who you are. And that is why personality is so important.
One of my mentors, one of the things that he stresses a lot whenever we chat, and something he's helped me develop is for me to show my personality at work more often. And he says that's what makes you unique and that's what sets you apart from your competition or just like other people at work. So it's been for me a very interesting experience working with my mentor just to make sure I showcase my personality the way how I do when I am amongst friends, so that they actually like so that work people see the real me, which is really important.
You know, a friend of mine told me, you know, Joe, you know when somebody has a great personality? When you include it. When you can't forget Lorenzo, we have to invite Lorenzo, right? Or you have to get Joe. Make sure Joe is here. You know that you're going somewhere, right? When, as a guide, you go to a resort and they ask, look, we went out on a tour with this guy Lorenzo 2 days ago, and today we took a break, but tomorrow we want to do it. We can get him. Then you know that something is going right, right? That's important.
What about energy? The energy that someone brings to guiding. Is that related to personality? And what type of energy do tourists usually respond to?
Energy comes from your personality. Energy also comes from the way you see the world. In the case of guiding, energy comes from managing habits, right? Because you could be a high spirited guy, what you went out last night and you came in at 3 a.m. And now you cannot be Lorenzo, the great guy we met 2 days ago. You want to go home and people feel you. Energy doesn't lie. There is no doubt about that. Energy will not lie. You will show up and people will feel you or they will rebuke you immediately. And if you don't have the energy, you will not put in the effort. Energy directly relates to effort and how safe I am going to feel with you as a guide. Because the guide is a leader. People haven't been here before. I always used to say, I would count my gifts. In the morning, I would pick them up and I say, all right, we're going to Caracol today or we're going to the mountain Pine Ridge, just to give you two examples. And I would immediately thank them for taking me with them on their vacation. And I would tease that the only reason I am driving is because I have been here before. But I would be safe with any one of you leaving this thing. And immediately you see they kick their shoes off in the car, and I know I have them. Every time people would be tight, they don't know you. And then your energy comes into the game, and then you see them do this, and then you go, we're winning. With a win, right? That's how we found it, I believe. With a win. We are winning. And that's all you need. As a guide, I needed you to relax. First thing, because if you're not relaxed, as I tell my students, if you're not relaxed, you're going to resist, right? You have your own ideas of what Belize is, but if I can't get you to relax, you will not listen to my side of the story. And I live here, so let's share, right? So energy is everything. I will take that to the grave. If you don't have the energy, the spirit will not be inside your tour, and people will rebuke you. You will just be a mediocre at best. So energy is everything.
Can you share an example of a tour that you gave or one that you experienced when you were traveling that really stood out and what made it special?
I can't remember the year, but I will share this one with you. I thought about it about over an hour ago. I thought about it and I said, there was a kid that came here, a Jewish kid. They were from upstate New York, a family. There were two boys and their parents. The youngest kid was 11 years old and full energy, lots of energy with the kid. I mean, kids that age energetic. And he didn't want to go. And we went to Shunatonich. I remember that. Actually, that was the beginning of 6 days with them. They didn't know that. But I'm so glad that this happened on the first day. The kid was just, the energy was driving the parents crazy. So we went to Shunatonich and I told him a story. I said, today I will tell you a story about a king. And I think his name was David. David, I can't remember. But let's use your name as an example. His name was Lorenzo Gonzalez. And then the kid, I got his attention. What? And I said, this was a king that was here. There was no king by the name of Lorenzo Gonzalez at Sunantonich. But I said, I want to use him as the main character of this story. And to make a long story short, I gave all the history of the site and aligned it to that king. That kid came back here at age 20 with some friends. And he looked me up and he said, Joe, I know it might not be available, blah, 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 because the parents and we kept in touch. And the parents were telling me that he was coming. And I couldn't believe that we went to Shanantonich with his friends. Not as a guide, I just went with them. I met them there. And this young man, 9 years later, could have recounted some of the stories at the site that he was the king. And I went, I think I won. That was the biggest win I ever felt in my life. 9 years later, this 11-year-old that was there came back and told me and his friends some stories at that site. And I went, wow, this is, I felt, I have never felt that way before. I have never, ever, I had people who came back and asked for me, but never like that. I did not expect that kid to come back and be able to express himself. And I felt, wow, if I should die now, this is a good way to go with a gift. And that's a gift, took it as a gift. I was so grateful that, and it reminded me, and this is how I teach people remember you. You have to make them feel you. You have to make them feel important. And you're a king, right? You're a king. You will never be forgotten. You're a god. The Maya kings are living God. They are ordained by God themselves. And I, I remember we're talking about blood sacrifice. I remember that because he recounted it and how they took the stingray spine and they pierced it through the foreskin of the penis. And he said, I'm Jewish. So that's when I, well, I don't want to go down that road, but he was recounting this to his friends, all four of them, as a Jewish king, that he was a Maya Jewish king. And this is what happened, right? He let blood for his people, and I went, this kid remembered it. And I remember that kid, all that energy that was going to waste, he wanted to leave. He wanted to go. He didn't, it was hot. He found all the excuses. And then I made this story about him. And in fact, Mr. Gonzalez, I will share this with you. Even in friendships, the humility that you have to calm, even if your energy is high strong, if you get humble, be like the sea. Everything, the sea just bows down and everything comes to it. You just make certain that the life you're sharing with your friends, your family, your mother, your father, it's about them in your life. The same thing I deal with tourism. This is not about me. This is about you. This is not about the money you pay. This is about an opportunity for me to be with another human being or other humans that I need to leave a mark with. And that story that I just told you, that's perhaps, and I've had a lot of great stories, but that one truly made it worth the while right there. So I don't know if I got too emotional there or anything, but that was a beautiful time for me. And I hope your audience realized that was special. And I'm glad you asked that question, by the way, because it made me think about that kid. The kid now is about, I think he just got married. He's about 31 and he just got married. So I told him when I got married when I was 50 and I'm 53 now. So I have a lot to tell him about marriage. So I don't have anything to tell anybody about marriage. I'm still learning.
So, from what you're saying, it seems that good storytelling is crucial to the success of any tour. What is typically your approach?
My approach to storytelling is I need to know what you know. Have you been to a mines? Let's use the Maya. Have you been to a cave before? Have you ever, have you ever hiked before? Most people have done the simple things like hiking. A lot of people who come to Belize for the first time have said, oh yeah, I went to Mexico and I was in Mexico City and I went and all these Aztec places. And I said, yeah, well, they're not the same. They're relatives, but they're not the same. And so you need to know what their experience is.
Setting a baseline, knowing what your audience knows.
Correct. Because if they've heard certain things before, or let's put it this way, if you bought a tour with your family and you went with this guide, say, to Shunantunich 2 days ago, no, it's my turn. I need to know where you went, what stood out there. Because now I'm going to Caracol, or I'm going to Altuna, or wherever. I don't want to tell you the same story. Mind you, all sites have different stories historically, right? But generally, it's mine. I need to know what jumps out. Tell me, because I am going to try to do two things. I'm going to give you fresh, new information, And I'm going to trade my new information with the ones you already know. So that's the approach. What do you know? Or do you have any questions on the last tour that you did?
And how do you adjust your delivery depending on whether it's a group of people, families, or students? Do you have any tips on that for other guides?
Well, the tourism manual has some great tips on how to do it, right? Storytelling is always the winner. I incorporate everyone in the tour, meaning that Lorenzo and James and John and Sheila and Maria, they all play a part in the storytelling. And you incorporate these people in it. Why? Because you get their attention, right? And then once you get them to be talking on the same topic, you can get them to listen to the same information. And each person has a very different level of understanding that they'll have, and they will learn differently from each other. We're very lucky when you get one set of people, two, three, four people who will all be on the same page with the same idea. And that's the beauty with guiding. If you cannot develop your skill set, your personality, and your your open mindedness, it will be very difficult to move from this level of information and then bring it down, especially with children. You have high intellectually driven adults, like highly educated adults, but they have children. And the children, they want to play, right? Children want to play, but the adults really want to learn. So what do? You incorporate the kids first. First, you grab the kids. That is, it's a suggestion I'm making. Make sure you grab the kids. And once you grab the kids, then you can teach the adults everything they want to know.
Sometimes things go wrong during a tour. Like, for example, you encounter a rude guest or there's bad weather or delays. How do you adjust when that happens?
Well, we just pack up and leave, man. It's over. No, just kidding. Yes, bad things happen sometimes, right? For example, if you have a mixed group, like one family of three and then another family of four, uh, sometimes they don't see the same political things. Conversation or trigger on your way to a place. You're driving to cave tubing, and then it's a great day, and you hear the conversation that this one is in an American space, one is a Republican, one is a, and they go like, oh God, that's a, don't, let's not go there. Let's not go there. And it turns into a mess in the car, and already there's animosity, and you haven't gotten to the cave tubing space yet. No, the work really begins, right? Because getting to a place and doing the physical tour is, and teaching on the tour is very easy. It's managing the personalities when there's animosity. That's when a guide really works, right? A guide never works. I mean, you come to Belize and on vacation, you go on a tour, and I tell you, wow, thank you for taking me to Pine Ridge, or thank you for taking me to Chichen, right? I am so happy to that you're taking me with you. The only reason I'm needing this is because I've been here before, right? And people like that because they go like, all right, we got a right guy here. So first, calm it down. No, animosity is a problem. Um, Politically, I would throw in Belizean politics so that they can calm the hell down because politics almost the same everywhere, right? Well, I've just made that up. But there's red and blue in Belize. The same thing in the United States right now. Red and blue. Do not use the names of the parties. But I can share how Belize is wild. And I share Belize and the politics of Belize can become wild, how people see each other. And I'm telling their story to them, but through my experience politically. And we'll see. So each party does the same, they do crazy things, all of us, right? And then you start to engage them into the right. But enough for my politics for now. Let's leave politics behind because I spoke about my politics, not the one they're angry about. I spoke about my politics and I'm willing to put that aside and let it go because we need to let it go. We have something to do. That's one. Weather, well, what can I do about weather? Right? What do we do about weather? Could be a beautiful, bright, sunny day, and you get to the site, and Chuck, the rain god, decided that, nope, 1 hour I'm going to throw water on this site. And you're there. Question: how many of you are afraid of getting wet? And then they look at each other, they look at you, and then all they need is one little smile on the side of one lip. And you go like, let's do it. Let's do it under the rain. Let's do it. And we will go. There are certain things you cannot help, right? Like weather. No, it's lightning and thunder. No, we don't go there at all. Right? We wait it out. But it's always on their time. They have paid for this. My job is the Uber guy. I will take you where you want me to take you. And the guests must decide what they want to do. Now, if you're in the same vehicle and there are two different groups, I mean, you can't split them into two groups because it's in one car. But I have always used, even if I make up the story on my end, to incorporate their arguments that is unnecessary at this time. Because people are passionate about politics or religion or you know how it works. And that would just to intervene and to calm everything down, I use our examples. Even if I make up some of them. Why? Because it's not facts I want to share. I want to calm down this problem. Right? Or kids that are really misbehaving, right? You know, kids that are really misbehaving. Um, I would invest in them. I would totally invest in kids. Like, all right, you know what? We're going to the market. So we divert and we go to the market. And I would go and I would say, all right, the little toys are $3 or, you know, little things that will catch their attention or buy some mangoes and this is for you. And slowly and surely, they calm down because the parents need to enjoy the trip too. But if the kids are upset, it messes up the entire thing for the parents. And what that does, it eventually, it's not a good, even though you are, as a guide, you have not cheated them with all the information they needed, they did not listen to half of what you were saying. So you need to go directly to the heart of where the problem is. Whether it's a little kid misbehaving, you need to put some attention to them. I try not to give them sugar because then that could probably turn it worse. But adults too, right? Hey guys, you know what? Let's stop here and grab some coconut water, and that changes the mood altogether. And that's how we do it. So I invest in it. I would invest in my tour.
And for tours that you're doing on a daily basis over and over, how do you keep it fresh?
Good question. Let's use a cave, for example. A cave in Belize has a lot of history. There's geology, there's human use of the cave, there's mythological ideas of the cave, there is environmental ideas of the cave, which aligns itself with ecology, right? With the cave itself, you need to, as the guide, you need to go. All right, I just went to this cave today or yesterday, and these people were very interested in formation and the geology of it, and I led with that. You lead with geology, but you throw in a few things later, right? So today, where we're going is I'm going to deal with the cave as a mythological case. So you lead with mythology and you go to geology and you go to environment. So you have to have an expanse of information, enough that you can lead, but not stay only there, and then you stay fresh otherwise. So you go to a bio site, you can make sure you have a team. First, you ask people, have you been there? Have you been to a site before? And they say, yeah. What were you interested in when you went to this? I was interested in how the Maya built these things. So we already know I can focus on the building themselves, the architecture and the design and the science and the math behind it, and I could focus there and then add in the rest. Or some of them might be, look, I'm interested in spirituality. So you already know. But if you don't have enough information, you're in trouble. But the best guides are a bountiful amount of information with them, right? So they can lead with spirituality and then add in the rest. That's what normally happens. So, for example, if you go to two sites in a day, you've been to Belize before, you could go to Shirantarich in the morning, have lunch, and then go to Calpech. And so, how do you do that? And most guides that don't have enough information struggle. So, you go to two sites in a day. I mean, I cannot, I can't tell everything I know at one site because I'm going to repeat it at the other side. So, you have to learn to lead with focus ideas. So one side you talk architecture, you lead with that, and the other side you discuss how the Maya lived here, right? The natural culture of people living here. And then you throw in the architecture because you can't run away from it. It's right in front of you. So that's how we keep it fresh. Right? And then you know what? There are fresh people every day, but it's not when it's about them, you also have to be prepared. Because if you wear down as a guy, people feel the energy that lies with you.
Do you have any advice for young Belizeans who want to become a respectable guide in their community?
The best advice I can give you is that you need to ask yourself a few questions. Do you like people? Do you like to learn? Can you learn something well enough and be humble with it? Can you share? Very simple things like when you were growing up as a child, your parents said, you need to share, right? You share. Why? Because it's reciprocal. I share with you, you share with me. And if you don't share, nobody's going to come to you, right? Um, you need to be prepared to grow. It's a huge world out here. Learn not only what they're teaching you, but compare and contrast it to other nations and other humans. Understand that the world is bigger than just where you are right now, and everywhere is important, and everybody is important. Put in the effort. Take care of your mind and take care of your body. You need to be in shape, man. The worst thing you can have in a guy that is totally out of shape. I don't say you should be Carl Lewis or Usain Bolt, right? I'm talking about willing because energy will not lie. And if you're not in at least decent shape, people it will drain some of your energy from the days. So be ready. You have to want to do this, and you cannot think about it as a job immediately. Yes, you need to make a living, but become so good that you don't worry about money anymore because it's coming. It's coming, and always stay on top of information. Always don't be shy to ask people. So that's important.
Joe, if you were asked to lead um, a project for the Belize government on how to level up all the Belizean tour guides, what advice would you have for government, or what project would you run?
That's a good question because I had a conversation with Andy Bahadur. He's a colleague of mine, a guide too, and a teacher like myself. I told him we should start a school specifically for guides, not the tour guide training process. I'm talking about specialized schools, right? Specializing in each Maya site have a different history, and you teach that. Most guides coming right out of a tour guide training program, graduating from it, are not ready for site guiding. They don't have a general idea of the place. Right? You need specialization in different areas. But you can't have a specialization course and just have it over a 3 month span. It doesn't work like that, right? You don't want your doctor to go to school for 3 months. Right? You don't want your lawyer to go to school for 3 months. You want to know that geology-based guides, they went to school for a year studying only that, 3 days a week for an entire year. You want an ecology-based guide, you have to do all of the sites. You have to go everywhere, and you are going to learn this place ecologically. And the problem with that is it takes time, and time is, it's a it's a mystical thing, but time is what we need. We need time.
My guest today has been Joe Awe. Joe, thanks for being on Belize Tourism Futures.
Thank you, Lorenzo. Thank you for having me, and best wishes to all your audience. And may this show be as successful as it can be.